Hey guys, how's it going? I just thought I'd do a little video here on a new purchase of mine. It's the Fujifilm X-pro2. I've been thinking about buying this camera for a little while, ever since I played around with the X-T2 in Houston, a camera that a buddy of mine had. So I started shooting with an Olympus E420 back in my university days. I bought that camera because I was part of a student association which organized quite a lot of parties and kind of social get-togethers, but there was never like a photographer that would go there and take pictures and document the event. So I got this camera. It was my first real digital, like professional camera. Um, so it's a digital SLR camera, and I just kind of fell in love with it right away. So I love that camera. I took it with me everywhere. Took a lot of pictures in kind of party settings in like bars and clubs of people, of happiness gatherings, group photos, that kind of stuff, but not really any kind of photos for myself. Barely took it anywhere besides to those kind of gatherings. I still have the camera, as you can see, kind of maybe out of sentimental purposes. Um, these days, I try not to buy things new, and I try to sell my things as well after I've used them for a while. But this camera basically has no more value except for sentimental value, so I'm just going to keep it around, I think. It might look nice on a shelf along with some other camera gear further down the road, kind of as a like, hey, this was my first camera, so let's keep it kind of deal. Then after that, I owned the 650D, the Canon 650D, and that was kind of more of the same. I didn't buy any cool lenses for it. I took it on a couple of trips. I took it on a trip to Singapore when I went to the zoo, and I took some pictures of animals there, and that was really lovely. And that's where I learned that it's not really too much about the camera body, but much more about the lens that you put on it. So I was thinking of picking up some lenses for the Canon, like the Nifty 50, because I hear that one was like nice and sharp. But I was not really loving the handling and the way that camera kind of made me feel when I was out and about. So I started looking at my next purchase, and I sold my 650D, and that's when I came across the Olympus OMD EM10. So kind of the idea was, I love the Olympus E420 so much. Let's go back to kind of familiar territory. Let's see how far technology has progressed. And I immediately got the 20 millimeter f1.7 Panasonic lens with it. And that is just a fantastic lens. I never had a lens that let in so much light, where you didn't, you couldn't zoom, you couldn't think about anything like that. And I just loved it. I went to town. I took that camera with me everywhere because, coupled with that pancake lens, it would literally fit in my jacket pocket, and I could take a ton of kind of street photos or candid photos of people I was with. And I took a lot of pictures, that I cherish, that I still love. But eventually, it wasn't inspiring me as much anymore to go out and to take pictures with it, even though I do love it. First, I thought, let's go for the Mark II, because the OMD EM10 had released a newer version. So I picked that one up, of course, always secondhand. And it was cool because it let me do a little bit more video. It did the 60 FPS, 1080p. The in camera stabilization is just superb. You can shoot at a lower shutter speed than you would be able to do with any other camera that didn't have that. So that's a feature that I really love about this about the Olympus cameras. But it didn't challenge me in any new ways. It was just a camera that was incrementally better than the previous camera, and I was kind of looking for something a little bit different, a little bit new. I bought a really fancy lens for it while I was in Japan, 14 to 40 f2.8 Pro lens, um, and I didn't like it. I mean, I visually, image quality wise, it was perfect. It was an amazing lens, um, and I love the way that you pull down on the focus ring and it switches to manual mode. Um, I love that it has like this extra button that suddenly gives your camera another function button that you can program. I liked a lot of things about it, but it wasn't inspiring me to take it out. It was kind of big, kind of clunky. Didn't really fit in a room where you're just kind of casually talking to somebody and taking a picture. You know what I mean? It puts everybody on edge when you bring out something that looks so technological and sleek, I think. I don't know. At least it puts me on edge. And maybe nobody else thinks about these kind of things, but I kind of do. I saw kind of what the future would be like with Olympus. I could go for the OMD EM5 or the OMD EM1, but it would just be more of the same. It would be the same kind of handling and the same kind of philosophy with just incrementally, or in some cases, much better specs. But there wasn't much more to go beyond that. Yeah, I could have gotten some other prime lenses, but they didn't really inspire me, or they didn't really look like it would be that much more interesting than the 20mm f1.7. And that's when I picked up the X-pro2. I've only had it for like 4 days now, and it's what do I say about it? It is very lovely. It takes beautiful pictures. It takes pictures that have so much life to them in some way, and handling it is just so nice. It's so many little touches were put into it that just make your day-to-day a lot easier. Like there's a shortcut for formatting the SD card. The way that you set the function buttons is really straightforward. The optical viewfinder is really cool. That takes some getting used to be honest, but it's really neat, and it kind of makes things a little bit more immediate. So what do I think about the X-pro2? I think it's a challenging camera for me. I never shot with a rangefinder style camera before, but I did get to the point where I was like, I don't need what Olympus is giving me, at least not in the kind of hobby photography, personal photography area. I do love what Olympus gives me in terms of the image stabilization, and in terms of the specs, and in terms of the sharpness of their lenses, and in terms of the size of the package. I think it's excellent, and that's also why I did not sell my Olympus OMD EM10 Mark II. I didn't sell it because I like it so much, and I can still use it for filming. I can still use it for all sorts of things. But for the kind of personal, let's call it Oliver's memories photography, the Olympus wasn't challenging me anymore, wasn't kind of inspiring me anymore, and so I got the X-pro2, and that's going to be a relationship to kind of build up over time. But it does kind of inspire me to go out. I already thought a couple times of waking up a little bit early and going towards the park, catching the sunrise and that kind of stuff. That's a little bit about me, about my photography history. Photography is actually kind of like a hidden hobby, to be honest. It's not something that it's not something that I really talk about much. If you were to like grab my life and look at it objectively, I almost always have a camera around me somewhere. I was always interested in recording equipment. I was always interested in recording equipment in general. I love playing with tapes. I love kind of recording stuff and hearing it back and seeing what happens to a moment after you've recorded it. That stuff fascinates me, and as I kind of as I grew up and went to university and got to make my own decisions about what I wanted to purchase and what I wanted to do, I dabbled in photography, and it never really left. There were some lulls in there where the equipment I had didn't really inspire me to go out, like the 650D. That was a cool camera, but I just didn't do anything with it. I don't know why. But then the Olympus OMD EM10, that one got a lot of shutter releases, and I hope that the X-pro2 is going to be the same. The only thing I don't like about it is it's a bit big. It's not that easy to carry around with me. The Olympus OMD EM10 might be my secret love. Who knows? I might go back to her. Back to this lovely little camera. But I think there's a place in my heart for the X-pro2, and I'm kind of looking forward to where that will take me. So, yeah, thanks for listening to this kind of rambling of my photography life. See you guys next time.